Happy Wednesday. You're waiting for me. Hey guys, Ryan for the Complete Racing Pigeon Network. Yes, it is. This is actually the real Racing Pigeon Network. A lot of these new YouTubers out there, you're going to see them put a lot of stuff together and you're going to scratch your head and you're going to get real confused. But you won't get confused here because we just give it to you straight down the middle. We aim for you guys to succeed. We try and give you the information you need. But this is One Loft Wednesdays. Predominantly, this show is based on One Loft Racing. And one loft racing in the United States, as you guys know, is huge. It's the biggest, right? It's the best. It's the holy grail of pigeon racing in America, in North America, and that's great. But what did I do? I skipped all the shit. I went to the man who's number one, the best, king of the jungle, Johnny T, John Timmerman from the California Classic, the World Cup. He is on with us every Wednesday. So, guys, please like, share, and subscribe. Guys, please ask questions. If you don't ask questions, we're gone here in about an hour because you know what? We just can't sit here and talk to ourselves. We talk to ourselves all the time. We have a good relationship. It's you guys get to know Johnny T. So, on that note, I'm going to start the show in 2-3-1 or 1-2-3, whatever you want. See you guys on the show. Here we go, guys. That's gonna get for the man, the legend is on with us. Here we go. One on Wednesday. And it's John Timmerman. Hey, my friend. Another week of pigeons. Welcome.
How are you, Ryan?
Oh, I'm having a good day. I've been up since 1 o'clock this morning, and every
Ooh,
time I went to bed after, like, when I have a race, like I got to get up at about 1 in the morning, and then we set the cameras up in Belgium, and then the race goes off, and then we're on for about an hour, so we don't finish till about 3:30 in the morning. But from 3:30 till 6, you don't sleep because you're kind of running on adrenaline, and then you kind of going over, well, where did we miss the boat and shit like that. So you go to bed at 6 and you're up at 8 and you do a few things. I'm gonna have a nap, and someone comes, someone calls. Shit, right now I'm running on what is that? I got my second wind. I got my
second.
second wind. So I'm doing okay with that. Yeah, everything's good. Racing's going good in Belgium. Lots of fun. Just trying to hunt down a win. Trying to hunt, but it's not the easiest. Seems like it seems like this is the first time I'm tripping over my own feet just a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, they say don't trip over your own feet. That's a little bit what's going on, but you know what? It's okay. It's super fun, and playing sprint races twice a week. It's like a good high. You know what I mean? You lose the race, and within an hour, all right, here's the next race in 3 days. Let's go back to battle again. So other than that, everything's good. How about you?
Everything's good here. Just getting set up for training here pretty soon. Just getting the birds exposed to the chute, and in the next few days we'll be putting them on the trailer, and away we go. Um, we've been loft flying for the last month, but the last couple of weeks have been more or less getting them going. And you get pigeons that are flying great, you got other pigeons that are just so, and then you get those pigeons that are flying great, they're out and about ranging, you lose a few of them, and it's just, yeah, it's every day there's something.
Yeah. John, it's always funny. You never lose the ones that don't want to fly. You lose them when you
Yeah.
train. But you know as well as I do, you'll see that group of 100 birds and they're just ripping and they're doing great, or 50 or 25. And you almost say to yourself, if they don't use this, bye bye.
That's where it's at. I mean, that's, you know, when it really comes down to it, this whole racing thing is an experiment, and you try to control all the variables. But in the end, each pigeon is its own, and
Mhm.
there's good ones and bad ones, and then that's where it all comes back to the breeders of the pigeons, and and some will stay in, some will make it, and others just they fall off.
Yeah, and people will knock people who put big numbers in to put 20 birds in your race or 50 birds in your race or five birds or whatever. They say, well, everything should be equal. Everybody should put two birds in. But you know what? You need the numbers in the races. I know all these people, I hear it time and time again. I think a race should only have two birds. My friends, you guys don't have it in you to handle that because if you give the two birds or the one bird or and it gets lost, you get angry. So put what you want in, put what you can afford in. Again, it's pigeon versus pigeon at the end of the day. There's nothing wrong with it. You have to focus on its pigeons. It's not, Jimmy Smith put in 150, put a lot of prize money in. And if you can beat him with two pigeons,
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but it's gotten to where it's like the California Classic. The price hasn't changed. It's been like that for the last 20 years, and in the previous days, it was there was a cap on how many birds a person could put in, but it's changed so much, and there's an appreciation by breeders that they want to test their birds, and so yeah, we've kind of changed. We've changed with the times.
yeah, and I think people need to understand that. And if you find a race that's good, the trainer is doing good, you're getting the updates, the work's been being put in, the prize money's getting paid out, you can go to the event, you check off all the boxes, and you look at all the races out there. Not all these races, you can check mark all those boxes. The California Classic and the Royal Cup is one of those races where I can see why guys put in, some guys put 10, 20, 30 birds in because John does put that work in. He goes the distance year in, year out. He's a professional pigeon man, guys. And that's why I say he's in the United States, he's the GOAT. And in the world, he's going to be ranked right up there. I can take this man, I can drop him in Africa, I can drop him in Florida, I can drop him in Egypt. And I guarantee you, this man will make it happen. He will get it done. He's played it enough. He knows what he's doing. And the course he's on, which we're going to see a little bit of the sky here today, because we got some loft flying videoage. We're going to take a look at that. But no, I know what you're saying. And guys, remember, we all don't mean to, but sometimes we send a lazy pigeon, eh? Sometimes you send the lazy one.
Well,
It's it's
I mean,
normal.
that's the game. I mean, nobody knows what the fate of the pigeons, what's going to happen. You just go by. That's where a little history on the pigeons helps. But again, there's a reason why guys are breeding 75, 100, 150, 200 bird race teams because they know that if you had 100 pigeons bred, you're lucky if you got one or two good ones, and that's pretty much how it works.
Yeah, and I do say I think it's important. People forget this. People think, well, we just breed pigeons and send them to races, and they have nothing at home for themselves to even loft fly. And you learn a lot, eh? You send out some birds and you keep around the babies for yourself, and you say, man, out of that pair, the babies didn't want to fly at my loft. They didn't even want to fly, or I lost them off the roof, or whatever. And then you go and you say, you know what? I sent to the Florida Pigeon Derby one from that pair. First inventory, it's gone. Before the first train toss, I sent one to the California Classic. It's gone. You're doing research at home, and I still say to guys, you gotta support your local clubs and combines to just test out, just to look at it.
Yeah,
You think?
absolutely.
Don't you agree? Don't you think it's a misstep for people not doing it?
Yeah, the more in tune you could get with your pigeons, the better off you're going to be. Just to acquire some birds and put them together and send them out, that's really it's a roll of the dice. But when you actually handle them and you see how they're flying and you really see how they develop in your own backyard, then you're more in tune. I had a conversation with a friend of mine yesterday, he spent a lot of spent a lot of money on birds from some of these big name guys just to find out that the birds just didn't cut it in club racing. So, you know, that's just all part of it. Um, the dollar does not make the pigeon, and that's something that we people forget. It's nice to have something like that in your loft, and to praise and to be proud of, but it's all about performance, and it's all about did they make it to the final? Did they complete all the races? And that's what you got to look at.
Yeah, and I also tell people when you're buying pigeons, look at who's the competition. Who are they flying against? What's the area? What's the birdage? What's the competition? Because there are guys in certain areas, even in Belgium, they fly in a weaker line. The competition is vicious. And those guys, you're going to get different qualities of pigeons. And you see it testing out different birds from different places, different guys. It's different in Belgium and Holland than going to maybe Poland or maybe going to Denmark. It's a little different. The guides are different, and I'm saying not that you can't get good birds there, but sometimes you watch, and people don't look at that. It's the same thing winning a one loft race like John's or being consistently in there through a season. Uh, the course is hard. The training was there. All the work's been put in. It's better to judge that than a race where you put your birds in, you didn't see nothing. There was only 100 birds in the race. Hey, maybe you won $1,000, right? That's great. Is it the same? So you got to really look at what goes on. You got to be honest to yourself. I think a lot of people they have a hard time doing that, eh, John?
Oh, 100%. I mean, everybody wants to be a winner, but in the reality, I mean, you get a thousand bird race. I mean, there's only just a handful of guys that are going to be doing, that are going to really do well. And again, it just depends on the day. I mean, that's where it's going to become more challenging is the environments now across the board, across the countries. Um, so it's going to be interesting this year. Over here, all these predictions in the U.S. as far as the monsoons and yeah, I know in my neck of the woods it's going to be tough. It's not going to be a lollipop course. It never is. But when you're dealing with higher temperatures or stronger wind, it's a factor. It's a factor.
Yeah. And guys, if you are on and you hear us, please post your comments in. Don't be shy. We don't bite. Every comment I will get to. Good evening, Michael Peeler. Good evening. Good evening. I wanted to share with you, John, you were asking me about Marcel Kurlemans, and I wanted to show you, unfortunately, Sunday morning at 1 a.m., someone burnt down his pigeon loft. And I'm going to switch the camera here so you can see. And let me just do this. I'll go to a full screen, but this is the photos here. I will show you here. And fire department came down, and it was done. It was deliberate. Those are all trees there, that green trees that were burnt. They weren't pine trees, so it had full leaves on them and everything. And just showing you some of the photos of how it looks. But the people who do this, I don't understand, and how they can do this. Fire spread easy. Next thing, the whole street's on fire. And, and there you see a pretty graphic photo there. The birds are all dead.
Oh boy, that
Yeah,
sucks.
that sucks. So we're gonna put together a little kind of a GoFundMe, a little chair help out race here. We're putting it together this week, and we are going to put it together to help for Marcel to build a loft. It's funny, John, as I
Yeah.
say, in Belgium, they nail you on taxes for pigeons if you sell, and they're all about showing you the little cards, and the government wants their money. But when a loft like that gets deliberately burned down, the insurance won't cover any of the pigeons or nothing, you know?
Now Marcel, he's I mean he's senior citizen, correct? He's in his 70s.
Yeah, he had his about 2 weeks ago. He had his 77th birthday.
Oh my gosh, 77 years old, and some bastard goes and does what he does. I mean that's just bullshit. It's just unbelievable.
I wonder what gets in people like really. What can get in your mind to like a fire? Like and they're the houses are kind of close there. The backyards are you know how fire spreads, John. Fire's dangerous, man.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And I hope for whoever did it, I hope they got if that really got them their jollies. Well, man, he's sick people. He does Marcel. He helps out people at the club. He's a nice guy. He doesn't have arguments with anybody. If someone is even rude to him, he just kind of goes his own way. He doesn't even doesn't put up a fight or nothing. And you see this, and you shake your head in disgust. But we're gonna try and help him out and see if we can and keep him motivated because Johnny, at that age, it's very easy to get down in the dumps and just say screw it. You know what I mean?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I mean, I saw an old clip. He had a garden too, right? Was that affected as well?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because of the fire, all the tomato plants, everything melted.
Mm,
Like just uh, how, John, it. You're European. These Europeans, they really take pride in their gardens. They love it. They can stuff. They live off their gardens.
yeah,
They're
that's shame.
so proud of their gardens, and it's like stupid, man.
Yeah, it's heart goes out to him. I mean, I think on the first clip that I saw on my, which is actually just recently that I saw it. I believe that he's lived in that home since his 30s or 20s. He's been in that house.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
that was his second hobby was the gardening and all that.
Yeah, that whole garden there. I mean, he built his house and he built the neighbor's house that they rent. Built it with winning pools at the Pigeon Club. He didn't win it and
Yeah,
build it in one day. He won enough money and kept putting it in, kept putting it into the house, putting it into the house. And if you asked him, he'd give you a pigeon, no problem,
yeah.
or he'd give you a beer, or he'd come on over for dinner, easy. People do that. I just shake my head. Ah. We got a question here. Michael Beavler says, "Hey John, how does John feel about his young bird coming out of the 611 blood R? They
Oh, those
flying good in any one
he's
off races?"
he's referring to the Kuwaiti pigeons. This year, actually, I bred a good army of them. This is going into. I acquired them a year and a half ago. Um, I put some in Kuwait this year, or excuse me, Pattaya this year. Pretty much my whole team as part of the syndicate that I sent, and I liked them. I don't know yet. There's been a lot of talk because the races that they flew over in Pattaya were on the faster side. I mean, they did go the distance, but big drops and a lot of pigeons. We don't know yet. Compared to what we've seen in South Africa, we haven't seen that yet in Pattaya. So we'll see. But from what I've been told, they're still, they are the pigeons. Um, I mean, the ones that I have, I mean, the one cock is off the hit pair that Gannis bought, and the cock I have, he's just a specimen. I mean, he's just phenomenal. And then I got an uncle to him, which actually last year I did breed, and I bred a 10th place average speed winner in the Crooked River last year, which so they have potential. I mean, over there, Crooked River. I mean, he starts out with 1,000, 1,200, 1,300 birds, and he gets them. He gets pigeons from top lofts. And if you could have a pigeon that run in the average speed and be on top, I mean, the pigeons they got to be worth something. They got to be good.
Hmm.
So you know, I try not to get too high on anything anymore. I just let the results speak for themselves. Because if they don't make it, they're gone. I know I've been in it too long to keep waiting and waiting. And if you're not, your competition is just going to scoot right by you, you
Yeah,
know.
you gotta definitely try them. We have a question here. What are some things newcomers should consider before choosing which one loft race to send their birds to? Wow, that's a good question. You know, it's hard
Um,
because I grew up with it, seeing these races come and come, and now, I mean, geez, there's man, that's a question. Is like, what do you pick? What do you think, John?
I think that, you know, there are a ton of races out there. I think sometimes you just have to wait a year, 2 years to see what how credible the people are. Um, because unfortunately, some of these races are in parts of the country that are pretty remote, and you'll never go and see what's going on. Um, and sometimes when these people get receive the breeders that did participate, somehow you could probably befriend them on Facebook, and you can see how the birds returned, and get their feedback. Like I mentioned so many times, nobody's going in. I don't believe I give so many of these one-off races credit to. I don't think nobody's going into this to make mistakes or lose birds. I mean, they all, everybody's got an objective. Uh, but the facts are the facts. Pigeon racing isn't something you learn in 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. It's a lifetime experience. And so you really need to look at your handlers. There's a lot of young guys coming on board, and that's great. That's phenomenal. But, you know, the going trend now is right. The guys turn to AI and they want the answers, but you still have to have a feeling on how you're handling birds. That's just the facts.
Yeah, you are right. You can ask AI anything, and she'll give it to you and make you even feel good about what she's saying. And it's a feeling. It's John, it's something that you learn through the years, and the best way to learn. And I say this to all these pigeon guys is practice. You practice flying them, you practice breeding, you do all that year after year after year. John, now he don't even think. He just looks, he does it. Same with me. You look, okay. If I use AI for something, okay, I
No,
use a little common sense or I thought, oh, that's an interesting idea. But people, you're right. Or they read it in a book and they think, well, we've read 3 books, we know what we're doing. It's not that easy.
no, because you have to learn how to feed, you have to learn how to medicate, you have to know what you're looking for, you have to know when the pigeons are ready, when they're not, and then still sometimes it's a roll of the dice. But choosing the race, you know, like I mentioned so many times, we are just in an age where it's become very commercial, and a lot of the bigger players will have influence on some of these races. And it's not so much for what's the better race, it's because they want their pigeons back and they want to be able to sell birds. But guess what? If the pigeons go to these harder races and don't come home, they're just pigeons. Always remember, they're just feathers until they prove themselves. And the reality, throughout the country, I mean, I heard a younger person earlier in the year at one of the races, and oh, I don't want a bird that came home from a smash. Well, to me, that's the wrong attitude to have, because you always got to remember, this is still homing. The homing ability is first and foremost. And when 90% or 80%, 70% of the pigeons do not return, and those handful of pigeons come, especially on harder days, they have things that the rest of them don't have, especially if they do it on a back-to-back race. And that's no different than in club racing, where guys will start out with 100 pigeons, and after the derby's over with, they got 20 pigeons left. That's where you really find out what you got. Those pigeons didn't let you down. So how do you attribute that to the one loft racing? Is the same thing. You have to kind of be patient enough to observe the racing, see how the handlers go about it, look at the feedback they give you, look at the feedback that other people, how they're getting their birds when they get on, when they get them returned, and that's how you're going to make your judgment.
Yeah, you're 100%. And looking at races, guys, look at races. that have some years in track record. I mean, you can go on and do the research. How long have they been running? How many birds are they getting per year? How many birds do they get to the start to the finish? Look at the consistency through it. Just do some research, and again, watch for the flashy stuff. Sometimes a little too much flashy advertising, you go down the wrong road. Guys, you're watching here. And you know what I might just do for this one? I might just for a little bit here, just go full screen on this, and you can hear John and myself talk. I will pull down this border here because they are flying. These are the California Classic and the Royal Cup birds out playing. Both groups are out, and so this is what, at about 3, 4 weeks out going.
Yeah, I mean, 3, 4 weeks, but you got to remember I pulled flights, so the flights are fully in. I pull the ninth and I pull the earlier ones. I do the eighth, ninth, and 10th, as well as tails, and they're fully in. The younger ones that came, I assessed and sometimes just pulled the ninth, or it's just the ninth and the 10th. Uh, but no, everybody's, there's still a little bit in the body molt. So normally I like to start training on the 7th or 8th, but I might wait a few more days just because the heat set us back a little bit and the molt uh, is still prevalent. So uh, this year, with so many races, my intake of pigeons, people have always, they're coming a little later than normal. But that doesn't change when the race day is. So I got to find, the window of opportunity. If it's there, and if there's a cool, some temperatures that are going to be dropping, I'm on the road. But if we're at, 75 degrees first thing in the morning and it's, 90 at 8 o'clock, I won't go. I just won't do it. I've tried so many times, and there's no benefit to any of it if the heat's there. So you just work with them. I mean, you can loft fly and all that. You won't get much of a loft fly, but I still like to get the birds acclimated as best as possible to all the conditions.
Good comments there. Austin says, "How do you guys step the pigeons out in distance training in preparation for the young bird season?" Now, here's a double question for you, John. Do you train your own young birds at your own loft, right? Because it's a different
Yeah.
time of year. Do you train them the same way you train your California Classic and Royal Cup pigeons?
I don't spend as much time. I move them out a little faster, and the reason is the temperature. The temperature is, you know, we don't fly young birds, we fly old birds. I mean, my team of pigeons, like right now, I just brought over another 25 to my other loft, and those pigeons won't be trained till January. So temperatures will be cool. I mean, you get into December, January, I mean, it's like night and day between now, right? August and December. It's just two different conditions. Winds are different. So if pigeons are flying well at home, I'm not afraid to just move them out quickly. But I always still try to give them a base, regardless if it's classic pigeons or my own pigeons. I'm a firm believer of just a little bit of repetition in the beginning, just so the birds understand what's expected of them.
Yeah, and Austin, I'll say, um, if you rush, you normally get a little bit of burn, especially if you're not sure. Take your time. There's nothing wrong with going to a 3 mile or a 5 kilometer toss 3, 4, 5 times, and you want to go to 10 kilometers 3, 4, 5 times. You want to go to 20 kilometers or 15 miles 3, 4, 5 times, and go a little bit until you get them out 20 to 25 miles, and then you can move them up in 10s or in 20 miles. No problem. But put some time into the short ones. Even if they're coming real good, put a little bit of time in. Don't say, well, I took them and they beat me home, I'm going to the next spot. Hey, take your time. There's nothing wrong with just slowing down a little bit. People
No,
are
that's
always in a rush.
that's the biggest mistake a lot of these guys make, is that, oh, they've been there once, got to move them out. And I know a lot of old timers believe that. But you know what? You could keep them at 5 miles, and you could go 10 times, and there's going to be one hiccup, and yet they've been there 10 times. So, it's not always the distance that's going to make them sharp. It's the routine. It's just hammering them and hammering them. It's no different than my process right now with running them out the chute and calling them in when it's time to go in. It's all about consistency, and you try to stay as consistent as possible. And the
Yeah.
pigeons will adapt to that. I mean, I was talking my discussion with Ryan today. It was just like pigeons here. A lot of pigeons flying, a couple thousand pigeons plus in this valley. But I'm in a valley, and if these pigeons get up a little too high and it's a little windy or something spooks them, like a falcon comes in, or they're feeling good and they want to start ranging, they start crossing those peaks or those going in a different valley. They're not ready yet, and a lot of times I will lose pigeons, and it happens all the time. Now, my philosophy is you do all this shit for them, you spend all this time, you do all this, they got to come back. Just like training, they got to come back, but it doesn't work that way. Again, that you can keep it all equal with all the variables, but in the end, they're all individuals, and that's where it becomes. That's the excitement of this.
Yeah, that's right. And guys, you see these birds here, they're getting going, they're getting better. And all these pigeons, when you guys are at home and you're loft flying 25, 30, 40, even 100 pigeons is one thing. This here is a total different bag. This is it's work to get these birds to roll. And you see the odd bird going by the opposite way. Those are birds that aren't in sync yet, and it takes time. It just doesn't. You don't snap your fingers and it goes. People might look at this and say, "Well, John, when are you going to start training?" John knows when they're ready to start training, and
No,
it's
there's
not
there's
yet.
been there's been I mean, I could still hear these old timers, going back years ago, that they can see 100 miles. You're just wasting your time. Well, that's all bullshit. Because yeah, they can see 100 miles, but the pigeons have to know what the game's all about, and it's no different than trapping. I mean, the whole procedure of in the beginning um, was settling and all that aspect. The pigeons are very intelligent, but again, you have to work with them to do the consistency, and it's just like going back. You've got a team of pigeons. Always remember how much effort went into buying the birds, building your loft, doing the whole preparation, and now you're gonna get gun ho and say, yeah, you know what? Everybody else says I could go 25, 30 miles first toss. Why? You just spend all this time, trying to build up a team just to blow them away because your neighbor said, go ahead, do that. No, it doesn't work that way. The pigeons
Yeah,
will tell you the more repetition, the more even just the small tosses, it's just going to benefit the team of birds. Now, in the end, quality is still quality. So once you get to the 100, you're still going to drop pigeons, but you try to be as fair to the bird as possible.
yeah, and I'll say to Austin or to whoever, if you're racing in September, I recommend. I wouldn't say start training in August. I'd start training at the end of June. And I take my time. Give yourself the time. And when you do that, you're not going to rush. And if you're talking to other pigeon guys, and the best thing is, oh, yeah, oh, yeah. If they say, oh, yeah, I'm jumping mine 50, 25 miles the first toss. Yeah, oh, yeah, good idea. Yeah, yeah. Just ignore it. Don't show them how big your balls are and do it. Just slow, inch by inch by inch. Take your time. This isn't a race. That's not the race you want to win.
No, that people have to remember. That's why people, some of the people get very excited. When am I going to see the trapping? They want to see shit at 2 miles and 5 miles. It's all irrelevant, because when I'm training and I let the birds go in small groups, this is exactly what happens. These pigeons come home and they'll start flying for another hour, hour and a half. But that's what I want. And the more I do it, the confidence is built to where now these pigeons will roam. They'll just tear up the sky. But are they ready to go to that 25-mile mark? No, no, they're not ready for it yet. And I mean, and that's, I guess, being in the valley that I'm in, living where I'm at, I've learned all that through experience and watched, there was a few other fanciers that lived in the valley, and I've watched them. I watched how they, they didn't have the team of birds that I had, but, they had 50 birds and they moved them out too quick. Within a month, they had 5 pigeons left. That didn't tell them anything. So, I mean, all this stuff is preparation for when you start moving them out. And that's one thing, like, again, with this course here for me, I mean, we're not on a straight run. The pigeons, yes, okay, they can, yeah, the visibility is 100 miles when you're a few thousand feet in the air, but they got to learn to navigate through valleys, and once we start really getting out there, the winds are totally different, and they're just variable throughout the course, and that's where all this short tosses and discipline comes in. At least you hope.
Yeah, yeah, you hope, but again, watch the people you're talking to, and just slow down. Really slow down, because you'll end up, I say, tripping over your own feet. You're gonna try and push too fast, and then it happens, and it happens. You know when it happens, when you open that basket up and you go, I don't know if I should be here. Then you're gonna have a bad one. I
Well,
always say,
that's
John.
when you really have to learn. If you really have butterflies in your stomach because you're looking, there's no sun, or the humidity's too high, just pack up and take them back home, because tomorrow will be another day. And that's what the advantage is of, if you start early. You can pick your days, and let the birds just slowly, get into it. Enjoy the birds, enjoy the sport. Don't push too fast. Now, there's other races, that we fly similar conditions. I mean, similar in time frame. A lot of these guys haven't started yet, and some of it's because where they're at, their environment with the heat. But I know my course, and if I don't start moving them, I don't want to be put in a position where two times, two times, two times I'll lose them. It won't. It doesn't matter. These other races could be at 100. They'll be at 100 miles in 10 tosses. Shit, I'll be at 10 tosses. I'm only 5-6 miles. That's the difference. And
Yeah.
it's not because my pigeons don't know anything or these pigeons are dumb. It's just the terrain, and it's like that throughout the whole course. So all these champion flyers that are out there and they're observing things and they say, how is that possible? Why don't you move them out? No, you have no idea what you're talking about. you know
Amen to you. Guys, you're gonna see we did a video with John. We're gonna wait just till he starts to train before we post it. It's about an hour video. And when you kind of go we go to the first 10 stops where he trains the birds, and you're gonna see the road, you're gonna see the terrain, you're gonna see what he says by the valleys. And again, if John gets sucked into it and he watches, I'm going to say, a race in Florida, or a race in Idaho, or a race in Indiana, and like John says, in 10 tosses, they're at 100 miles. If John does this, if he plays that game, their game, he loses 100%. And this is being a professional loft manager, and understanding your course and understanding the work that goes into this to make this work. I know, listen, I've flown pigeons. I was born in pigeons. I'm playing now in Belgium. I never seen loft flying the way it is, with the amount of pigeons your birds get hooked up in. Training. You can train pigeons. It don't matter what time of day. Your first 25, 30 tosses, your butthole shrinks to the size of a decimal point, because every time out, your birds are gone. They disappear. They come back in ones and twos all day long, because the volume of pigeons they got to learn to go through and ignore. And again, you have to figure out your course. And you may hear what we're saying and say, well, John's course is way too hard. I don't want to enter it. Guys, this is a great course, because pigeons that finish this, John, am I not right? You can send them literally anywhere in the world and they will compete, no problems.
Oh,
Children from those
100%,
pigeons.
100%. And I mean, in the end, that's the test. And I don't know, the mindset of people nowadays. I get it. You want your birds back, but that's, your pigeons that you bought. They're they flew a course. You take a lot of Gannis's pigeons. These top pigeons, they flew hard races where percentage of pigeons did not make it, and that's why those pigeons proved to do well on hard races. I mean, when I see hard races throughout the country or throughout the world, and it's the same thing that applies here. I mean, I am proud of that. I mean, yeah, I used to look at it differently and go, shit, you lose birds, but in the end, you listen again, you listen to the testimonials of some of the people that have been doing this for 20 years, and they'll tell you where were their pigeons developed from. Right here, this is where it started for them. And so for me, life, you going on a couple decades of trying to find the best pigeons, and they're right here, but not everybody can do it. But that's part of the game. That's part of the sport, is trying to find out. No nonsense. You cannot buy a champion. It doesn't, you got to fly, you got to test it, you got to see. And all of us, you could buy good lineage on a bird, but until you find out what the pigeons, what the pigeons are capable of, then you know what you have. And it's just because you buy brothers and sisters from some of these famous birds, that doesn't always mean that they're going to be good. It's a very small probability of which ones are really good.
Yeah,
Because if it was
that's
if
right.
that was if it was that easy, right? If it was that easy, why are these guys that are going into the big international races with 2, 3, 400 pigeons to participate? If they're selling you pigeons for 10,000, 20,000 a pop, but yet they got to put in 300 in the race. No, if they're that good and believe they're pigeons, they'd be going into it with 5 pigeons, 10 pigeons, like the rest of us. You know, but
Yeah,
they
and,
don't.
and walking away with the wins, and they don't. That's right. And that's the other thing people have to understand too. There's nothing wrong with putting big numbers in, but again, look, you have to do your research. Do your research. We talk about it. Marcel, his loft burnt down. We just got a post today in Belgium sprint racing in the whole country. He's the 20th best loft for first and second nominated pigeons. Okay, so
Amazing.
like yeah, and he's a guy with 10 pair of breeders. You've seen his breeding loft. I mean, literally, it's a shed, small, but it's quality, 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 quality. And guys, watch out for the guys that are selling not only big dollar pigeons, but they're putting big numbers in.
Well, I
Not
mean,
always, not always a home run.
like I said, times have changed. I mean, you look at some of the bigger numbers in my race, and it's not so much because they want to win; they want to test their birds. They want to fly with the competition that's in the race, but also just fly just to test what's going to happen on the course. And they know, because when they bring a pigeon back, most of the time you might not even like it in the hand as far as handling, but the pigeon has something that the other birds don't have, and that's, again, that's the key. You could work on trying to build a better handling bird, but you cannot work on homing ability. They either have it or they don't.
And John, again, it's not only the homing ability, it's the brains and the heart. And
Yeah,
guys, you think we're wrong? Take a look at that Usain Bolt. Okay, no sprinter was ever what 7 feet tall. He's the exception to the rule. Pigeons, they're exceptions to rules. You are going to get absolutely beautiful pigeons that will not fly worth a shit. You're going to get some pigeons with weaker backs or more open arms or not put together like steel, and they're just invincible. But you have to be able to look at that and say, okay, we're not going to dismiss it. We're going to use it, breed it, because it's got everything that you need. Remember, the basket. The basket is your friend. And in a one-off race, the guy that's training those birds and racing those birds, that basket's your friend. You're judging off that basket. And they all go up together, they all play the game, they all eat the same. That's what you're judging off of. And again, people are looking for for perfection in the hands, and I see them opening the feet on the birds and looking for the backs and looking for everything. Come on, a lot of people here aren't perfect, and pigeons are exactly the same way. Can't
Yeah,
see inside them, John.
that's 100%. I mean, you've done enough interviews. You've seen a lot of top champions, and so many, myself included, have made mistakes. I didn't like this because the bird had a flaw. You call the pigeon, and then all of a sudden, you get an offspring that turns out to be a superstar. It happens. It happens a lot. There's a reason when they call like Gabby with the clang, and well, that's a small pigeon, but yet look at the bird, what the bird ended up turning out to be. Um, and there's many more people. Everyone's got a story, especially the old time. The longer they've been in the sport, they got a story to tell you. And they're not the real champions. Are not going to be judgmental because they already know. They already know the answer. And uh, Ed Lorenz, before he passed away, he used to come visit. He came and visited me for 2, 3 years in a row, and I didn't know Ed. I knew Ed through my childhood, and I knew him, as a participant in the races. But for whatever reason, Ed just, he always made it a point to come visit the last 2, 3 years in his, in his late 70s, and he would tell me, I had one race where there was a 4-bird drop, and he says, "That's what you want." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "You know how many people are going to be upset because I didn't have a big drop?" He says, "That's not pigeon racing. When you see these huge drops, a lot of pigeons home on the day. That's not pigeon racing. You want a race that's very challenging." And it's just like going back to the South Africa days, especially when the original South Africa, when they flew a 400. I mean, it's shocking. They stopped because they didn't get the percentage of the birds home. But yet, if you look back, the pigeons that came out of there, they still dominate today. Clausing's birds, the Organuses, the set and spun silver, those type of pigeons where many pigeons didn't return, they turned out to be superstars. And yet those pigeons come here, and now all of a sudden in the States, we have a different mindset. They think those are shitty races. What are you talking about? Those are pigeon races. I mean, I had a young man come from China and visited me, and I told him this kind of the situation, what I'm talking about right now. And he says, "We fly, we are in China, we look for the difficult races." I said, "Well, I don't know, you guys must be different Chinese from the Chinese that are here, because they totally changed their philosophy. A lot of them backed out. They can't handle it."
Yeah.
So,
Well, I don't know what it is, but I agree with you 100%. It's funny. I'm friends with Emil Denny's, the Dark Army, the Golden Wing winner, double Golden Wing winner from Barcelona. I'm sure you know the name. And he said to me, he said, "Ryan, you want to breed damn good pigeons right off the hop." And then I said, "Okay, yeah." And he said, "This is what we used to do. When we were allowed to, we used to race the young birds out to 275 miles. And then, when they got to 275, 300 miles, they would then wait a week or two or whatever, and then they'd put them to 400, 425, or a 450, depending on the wind, right?"
mhm.
And he said you'd send 100, young birds. And he said you might get three or four or two on the day. And he says those were the ones that went right away into breeding loft. And he said every time that we had done it, we never looked back from those pigeons. Those pigeons I could put 9, 10, 11 hours on as a young bird and do
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
He said, but now we can't do it in Belgium. They don't allow us to send them anymore. But he
yeah,
said we would grow 100 youngsters, 150 youngsters just to test that out to get breeders, you know?
yeah.
So, I mean, interesting thoughts. But again, pigeons that put that time on the wing and got to do that torture of the old African days. I think they were they were special pigeons. A question here we have. This is an interesting one, John. What do you consider a good number of youngsters to test from a pair before deciding whether the mating works, at what point do you feel you're bred and tested enough? So, what's your thought on that?
I think if you do, I mean, myself, 6 to 8 pigeons, I mean, and that's more than enough. If I don't get one that hits, then you're looking at percentages of the pair click. But, you have to evaluate and see if you really like the pigeons that come off the pair, and then you challenge them, ideally, just like what Ryan just said, I mean, really, that was the true train of thought, was pigeons that could go to a 350 to a 4. Um, but again, it's changed so much, but that doesn't change the fact of finding good pigeons. I mean, I still remember the late Gene Hurl. Gene Hurl had the difference. And way back in the beginning, in San Diego, when he moved here and he was participating, he wanted to go back to, what the San Diego Classic used to be. It used to be a 150 and jumping them to the 300. And the training wasn't even close to what it is today. But that was ideal. But in today's world, that would never happen. Just, I mean, just doesn't
No,
happen.
the poor new guys, they don't understand the old guys. The old guys actually had balls. They weren't
Well,
afraid.
balls, but that's what's going to really develop your pigeons. I mean, we have to get another guy that's really a champion flyer, is Armando De Leo. I mean, Armando's a few years older than me, but even with his history flying to Mexico, his experience, he'll tell you straight out that what good pigeons, what's necessary. And he does well in his area, in the Bay Areas. I mean, he's dominated for many years, and he's dominated in the one loft races. He's always a contender in either the California or the Royal. And in Mexico, he's had pigeons that have, we're talking 30, 40, 50,000 bird races, and he's had pigeons do well from someone that's from the U.S. So, but he's the first one to tell you that he loves the distance, and you need the distance to really improve your breeding program,
Yeah,
especially if you're gonna go into the OLRs. I mean, I know that's the thing. I mean, we've talked about it, the sprint pigeons, and that is, I mean, it's 100%. But you got to test them. You got to put them out there to see. Guys in Belgium, they're flying. They don't want to blow them away because that's, they're flying for pool money, and that's understandable.
yeah. John, it's funny. I'm friends with Franz and Dirk Morris, and they played sprint for 35 years, and then they decided to go to middle distance and greater middle distance and 1 day long distance. He said, we just took our pigeons and we stretched them. And whenever we brought a pigeon in, we'd bring a direct child off of a national winner from, the longer distance into our birds. And we just keep stretching, find the ones that want to stretch. We got the brains of the speed, and it's easier to condition them to do it. It's funny. I will say to people, buying sprint pigeons, real sprint pigeons, they're not going to be sexy in your hands. You're not going to go, oh my God. They're going to be a bit bigger, deeper, backs come up. When you get pigeons that you race 250 to 400 miles, normally those pigeons are well put together. I would say they're the beautifulest of the pigeons because they have a different balance, a different muscles, a different size, and they're different than in Belgium if you go and handle extreme long distance pigeons. The extreme long distance and the sprint pigeons, they're not beautiful, but it's those middle distance pigeons. They're put together a very nice way. John, would you agree on that?
Oh, I agree. Yeah, 100%. I mean, uh, short distance pigeons sometimes, especially like the Vanderbilts, the ones I've seen, and some of them come out a little too big. If I look back and you go back to the distance pigeons, they're just a little bit, they're not really put together muscular, right? They're a little bit more loose in the hands. Even though, the tendency of seeing some of these small, little peanuts turn out to be really, cracker jacks, good pigeons at the distance. Um, but in the end, it all becomes biased. We're all looking for a pretty pigeon, and that really doesn't mean anything. I mean, David Clausen is an example where some of the pigeons that have done well for me. Some of them were just ugly, but the performance speaks for itself. And Dave's the first one to tell you that. You could laugh at me, say whatever you want, but I'm depositing a check at the bank.
Yeah.
Walt Durfel was the same way. He had a pigeon that going back, I think 15 years ago. He was at the 350. He was actually it was a second wind race, and he was a $50,000 winner. He was ahead by 2-3 minutes, and we didn't have, or I didn't at the time. I didn't have the tools of modifying the picture of the bird, so it is what it was. And so back then, I used to do a catalog, on the race. So here I had a picture of Walt's pigeon, and the guys at the club, what the fuck is that ugly thing on the front cover? Yeah, it's Walt's bird, and people are so quick to make judgment, but yet this was a $50,000 winner. It happens all the time. And I mean, this is not, I mean, yes, we like a good handling pigeon. We like everything that, what we're taught. But in the end, you got to look at the performance of the bird. Which one showed you something? I mean, I think that if we really, throughout the pigeon world, went back to those genetic, that's what you're breeding for. I think that's when it gets really exciting. I don't think there's a lot of guys that are flying pigeons, and yeah, we're being attracted because of the big prizes, but we're not being attracted to what these pigeons are capable of. And those that do it, they're not getting the respect that they used to get years ago. At least that's what I've come to find out and see, because genetics is the key. It's that's why we're in the sport. That's why you see those old timers that they don't acquire other birds. They keep their own pigeon. They work on that. That becomes an art.
Yeah. And John, I find it funny and kind of cute. Uh, all these people, you hear them, a lot of people, I hear pigeon guys talking, oh, I'm doing brother and sister mating or father-daughter mating or this and that mating. And I'm going, what are you inbreeding? What are you really inbreeding? You're making it worse. Crosses, going to crosses. Well, what are you inbreeding? Well, this is a great grandchild of this to a great great grandchild of that. I mean, come on. Or they get one winner and they're going to pair it right away, going right back to the mother. Hey, I just think people, exactly like you said, they're into the pedigrees, they're into the money, and they've forgotten what it's really about.
Well, that's why I said we have. I mean, are we going into the fancy bird business, or are we actually racing pigeons? It's two different worlds.
And John, the new guys coming up, the guys maybe in the last 10 years, they will never understand the old guys. You and me, we're still young guys in this, but we seen the old guys. I prefer the old guys 7 days a week. I just I feel like I'm an old guy and I'm like talking to new guys, and it's like I scratch my head sometimes and I go, man, we need a group of old guys to be reborn. You know what I mean?
Well, I think what has to happen, there has to be a few guys that have had 30, 40 years, 50 years in the sport, and maybe that's one of the things that we, like I said, a guy like Armando De Leo, who has a lot of history, he's uh, just a lot of knowledge to share. Um, and then participate in big races, and he'll tell you what I'm kind of talking about right now. It's the same philosophy, and just no different than what you just talked about. The champions of Belgium, the guys that fly the long distance, what they used to do. Same thing like Ed Schockelings, when before Peter stepped in and shut him down from flying the Orleans race. I mean, those were races.
Yeah, that's 100%. But you have to be willing to test and respect the pigeons. I know in the one question, a gentleman said, "Well, when do you know off of a pair?" Let me ask the question. You We can tell you judge off of 8 pigeons, judge off of 10 pigeons, judge off of 20 pigeons. But if you're not putting the work in, if you're not doing the testing, if you're not being honest with the pigeons, you're doing a stupid job. They've been off flying for 2 months. First toss, 25 miles. Oops, I lost them all except for five. Okay. I don't know if you can judge like this. You got to come up with a plan, of course. Remember, guys, you're the trainer, you're the feeder, you're buying the birds, you're doing everything. You got to give your best in all those little aspects and take your time. But, anyways, that's just a thought. Downfeather says, this is a very blunt question, John. He's seen the video, and I could tell he started to get strong here. He said, "When's road training?"
Road
That's on you,
trolling.
John.
No, just like I said, it's going to be. I think I'll move them out another week, and the reason is because the birds are still. A lot of pigeons are still in a little bit of a strong body mold. They'll clean up a little better. Plus, that gives me another week to get the pigeons a little bit more, a little stronger flying. Um, they're doing well, but there's still a percentage of them that are just, yeah, they're just not acting the way I would like. All that comes in time. Um, but again, like I mentioned, the heat and with a lot of younger pigeons, I just got to be a little bit patient, um, and hopefully that the everything stays good with the way the weather is. I mean, this is the first week that we actually been cool. I mean, prior to this, yeah, it's been brutal, just like for everybody else throughout the country. Um, but there's no reason to push pigeons that if they're still, in a bad molt. That's not going to help anything. But my pigeons, like I said, within the wing molt, they're 100%, majority of them. And body molt wise, yeah, they could, a week or two would actually do them better. But again, when I train, I don't train like anybody else. I do a lot of short tosses where, like I've mentioned so many times, I don't, it's just training. It's nothing yet to really get the birds, to say, oh, that's a good one. Hey, what matters most is you got a pigeon that's still there. That's all that matters right now. Doesn't matter how it trapped in because you really, you want your birds like you saw those birds flying. You want your birds to be flying as much as possible.
That's right, guys. And again, John's probably first 10 tosses. They're not no more than 2 miles or 3 miles, but it's the confidence of loading them, getting them used to being shooken up, let out right there in the driveway, let them fly, let them come in, and that again, letting the confidence build. But every time they let them out, they go up. They do a little more flying, a little bit more, a little bit more. He's building by the inches, of course. You guys think, oh, push them, push them. When you push, you lose. Here's a question. Do you ever see OLRs becoming divided into separate short, middle distance, and long distance races? I think, if
Um,
anything, I don't think there'll be long distance races. I think that's going to go away.
yeah, well, I mean, there are some races that, they push to the five. Um, but I think, we're talking young pigeons. And so 350, 6 hours, 7 hours on the wing, that's ideal. Uh, and like in my neck of the woods, I mean, the days are short. So you pretty much, you got a 7 hour window to get the birds home. And that's where we're at. And it's always kind of been like that in the States, maybe probably because we're so spread out and we don't have the participation. I mean, it's just like club racing. We go from 80 miles or 100 miles all the way up to a six. And whereas in Europe, they have specialty. You're flying, sprint or vitesse or font or, yeah, it's just, they have more people there to do all that stuff.
Yeah, and they can specialize in it. And again, guys, people say, "Well, I don't understand. My pigeon can do the 300 miles, but it can't do 350 or 400." I always say it's time on the wing, and it's being able for a pigeon to concentrate, focus, and do it. It's in the brain, eh? A lot of them will have the power and the muscle and everything. It's the brain power to keep focused on something. You can work. Lots of people can work 8 hours a day. There's different people that some people can work 12, 14 hours a day and they have no problems with it. And I know even in my own family, I have family members not direct, but they work 7 hours a day. If you ask them to work 9 hours, they're done. They can't handle it. and it's time on the wing. People don't understand that. They think, oh, it's easy. No, no, not all pigeons. Every hour, a little bit tougher, a little bit tougher, a little bit tougher. And that's why they say those 9 hour pigeons. When you put a young bird to 9 hours on that wing and he's up in the front, you got a special pigeon. Seven Hills Loft says, good evening, gentlemen. Downfit says, what feed are you using down there in San Diego, John? What are you using right now on the Royal Cup and the California Classic?
I do a custom mix, but I'm more on the downsizing on the protein and just adding more fats and more carbs. So that means a little bit, a fluctuation of patty rice, barley, and small seeds. I'm not a fan of using big corn, not on my particular course. I stick more to the small grains.
Yeah.
Right now is more. Right now it's just more cereal grains.
Okay. And we'll see if we can for next week get John to just do a small video of the feed just to show you guys. Just I always say people love to see it. We can talk about it, but sometimes they want it's easier to see it. We'll do that for next week. I'll make sure we have a point of that. Downfeather, he says, I'm convinced. Definitely sending birds next year. John's philosophy is similar to mine, simple and common sense. Yeah, I mean, you're seeing an old school pigeon man here in the modern world. I say it, it's a breath of fresh air. Hearing it, you see how it's done, you hear how it's done, uh, and again, guys, he wants you to get your birds to the end. He's got to work them, but he understands what has to go on to get the maximum amount of birds there. And we're not saying we guarantee your birds are going to make it,
No,
but he's going to give them every opportunity
no,
to
it's a bummer,
survive.
dude. It is. I mean, it's a bummer when you lose pigeons. I mean, I don't like to lose birds, but but again, this is all a test, and you're gonna find out who's as a breeder who's done their homework and who has not. And the same thing applies for myself. All the years of doing what I'm doing, and I do take the baby steps to get there. So, that's where it becomes frustrating on my end when you got some pigeons, some breeders, they're down birds, and and the interesting part is these guys that are down more birds are the same guys that had problems in the beginning with their pigeons. So again, there's nobody pointing fingers, but this is a question of breeders need to really look at their breeding program. And just because you someone asks, well, how many birds do you breed out of this and that? No, you really need to look at how many pigeons survived, how many pigeons, most of these people that have to make a phone call and say, hey, you're missing 745 or 800, and then they look in their books and they go, son of a bitch, it's off the same pair. Oh, that bird was missing over at this guy's race. And I mean, there you go. I mean, I have a really good friend of mine. Uh, previous years he's tested me. Didn't vaccinate his birds, or he did a brother sister mating. And I mean, and an interesting part about it is we have two different lofts on the property. One sibling goes one race, the other one goes the other race. One dies, the first week of the month, and the next one dies 2 weeks later, and they're nestmates. No, it's
Yeah,
happened, and that's okay. That's cool. I have no problem with that. But you hear it and you see it. And again, I mean, after so many years of doing this shit, uh, I've really come to the conclusion that a lot of this goes back to your breeders, and it goes back to the environment, how you're taking care of your birds, and that means health. Health is the key. If you had issues, if you have issues right now and you expect to breed champion pigeons next year, no, because a lot of those pigeons will be carriers and they're just going to carry on to the breeders. A lot of times these birds, if they turn out to be bad, get rid of them, start over. You know, that's all you can do, because it's a heavy investment on your end and time to think when in the end, I'm telling you what I've seen, just various breeders, big names now, Clausen or Bill Ensign, where these same gentlemen had problems 5 years ago, 10 years ago, having a discussion with them. They changed it up, went to a vet or went to one of these scientific labs, had their birds tested, and now you see how they operate, where their losses are very, very minimal. I mean, I just had a conversation a few days ago with Bill Ensign. I think he sent out 130 pigeons, no, 150 pigeons, right? Various races, and his losses were 13 pigeons total. Total. I mean, that's phenomenal. Now, mind you, we go back 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, he couldn't believe it. No, it's got to be something in the loft. No, I'm telling you, you had a problem. And the only reason he came to the final conclusion is because he was a participant in Pattaya, and they give you feedback where, you got E. coli or adeno. And then he finally, he kind of came to the conclusion, okay, I'll test my birds. And then he saw it for himself. And now he realizes that he'll tell you, he's the first one to tell you it's health. And what people don't understand is not so much even the survival in the loft. It's the survival of just flying these pigeons around the loft. The homing ability, everything is affected if the health is not there. You know,
Yeah, and I agree with what you're saying. And guys, we may be talking over your heads a little bit. Common sense is, hey, we're starting this year's breeding program. This is what we're starting with. You get halfway through the breeding program, don't start adding in new breeders into the loft, birds from different spots. You know what? You're gonna run into problems. You're gonna run into problems. Watch what you do. Watch where you're getting birds. Watch, just watch. Be patient. Take the time to look at the pigeons and put them through a bit of a quarantine. Take your time. You don't. Same thing. I say people that buy birds from Europe. I gotta get the bird here by next week. I gotta get it down on eggs. I gotta send it to the Royal Cup. Whoa, whoa! The bird just went through quarantine here, traveled here, 4 days in the post there. You're gonna have it down on eggs, and what do you want? You want miracles?
well, that's people are blindsided by a lot of it. I mean, a
It's not
lot of it,
pizza.
even some of the old timers are now across the board, across the country. Guys have had problems this year with rota, salmonella, E. coli. Some people don't talk about it, but because I'm in the position I'm in, I hear it firsthand. And I know some of these close friends of mine, that these older gentlemen that had issues, they never vaccinated. They always wanted to save their money and not vaccinate, thinking that's no big deal. Well, guess what? They got hit, and it's not just one guy. There's like 10 guys that I know that they lost, 75% of their breeders, because it all stemmed back from 7 years ago, 5 years ago, not vaccinating their birds. And, face it, that's just the world we're in. I mean, this isn't a question that, well, the good ones will survive. Yes, that's true. But we're also we're dealing with diseases now that will wipe you out.
Yeah,
And it's happening.
and again, John, if anything, with all the one loft races, not only in the United States, Canada, the world, you're bringing birds back. Hey, if you bring your bird back from Africa Pro, how many countries was your bird living in a loft with? How many different lofts?
That's right.
How much
Yeah.
different shit did it pick up? And is it a carrier? Is it a shedder? What's going on? So you got to think like this. It's a different world. Pigeons are moving even more now. Every year,
Yes.
you're
Right.
playing 10 races in the states. Oh shit, you're bringing back. You think what? You're not going to bring back one time a problem? Come on here.
Yeah.
Common sense, John. But hey, people are always quickly to point to say you've got the problem. Your race is the problem.
Well,
When
people, I
when
think what it comes down to, without the experience, it's experience. And until you finally see it firsthand, then you finally realize what's going on. I mean, just today, again, I won't say his name. It was a big breeder. He moved out of the country. He partnered up with somebody, and that poor guy's he's having hell right now. He had 300 pigeons that were acquired, and 150 of them are gone. And the problem is huge because it's not over yet. And just like the other friend of mine, the other old guy, which is on the, on the West Coast, this other guy's on the East Coast. Um, he's still dealing with it 4 months later, but he's down to, out of his 25, 30 pair of pigeons, he's down to like 5 pair of birds. What's my advice to him? Eliminate them all. Clean you got to burn the loft. You got something in your loft you might never get rid of. And that's something that does happen to people, where if you had a major virus that happened in the loft, you might want to just torch it and start over, because it doesn't get out of the loft. Sometimes it even could get into the ground. You know,
Oh shit! Oh shit, John! Well, you're giving the new guys, you're giving them heart failure. Down Feather says, work them hard on training. Comes on race day, they'll come with confidence. Yeah, if you're not losing pigeons, you're not training. You got to train them to find the ones that want to do it. If you don't train them, it don't work.
no, I mean, there's truth to that. But sometimes if you're going up against Mother Nature, that's a different story.
Yeah, and I do want to say this to people. I love training every day, and I like to train multiple times a day. If there is shitty weather, you can still train them. You take them a mile or two. You're going to say, well, what a waste of time. What a waste of this. What a waste of that. The more you train them, build them confidence in different weather conditions, overcast skies, strong winds, little bit of rain, drizzle. You build it up to them slowly. You build the confidence, and they'll do it. I don't recommend, hey, on their third toss, it's going to pour rain. Take them 3 miles. I wouldn't do that. But as you build the more tosses in, and you say, oh, it's overcast, it's shitty weather today, take them back to that original spot. Give them that confidence. And it works. But you got to, I'd rather train like that than pick every nice day. But I'm a little different guy. Uh, I'm just giving people idea how I would do it for bad weather training, or not the best guys. But in California, it's never bad weather. Every time I watch this video, I go, God, I'd love to live in California, man. But so John, you starting to do the trailer training. Um, a question I know people might ask and they haven't. Right now, you've got both groups, Royal Cup and California Classic. They're out together. They can mingle together. They play together. They go playing around together. That you're good with that? And what's your reason on it, or does it matter? What do you think?
It
I
doesn't
think it's
matter.
super.
It's just conditioning. That's, hey, the more these pigeons learn to just be acclimated on their own environment, on their own loft, that's what you want. You want them to pull away. It doesn't matter if it's my pigeons or it's going to be some other flock of birds they hit on the course. They got to learn that, and that's, I mean, like what you saw today, there's always a handful of birds that are going to mix up, and then the next day they're fine. I just toss them out by the loft that they belong to, and they go in, and we're good. But that's what you're trying to do, is make them all. You're teaching these pigeons to become more independent for themselves.
Yeah, and it is kind of nice. You're offline them together. They're already training because they're getting in with a group that's not them. They go, well, where are you guys going? Well, we're going over here. So it's almost, it's not even a mile. The lofts are not touching, but 10 football fields apart, but they're still training, even just in the loft fly when they mix
Oh
up.
yeah. Well, what happens later is when we have those days where it's just bad on the course to train, and we decide to loft fly, or the birds are loaded up, right? And I just cut them out. I cut them out in the field to, just get a loft fly. What happens is, especially if there's no sun and it's cloudy and it's breezy, they want to fly. And there's always going to be a percentage, 75 to 100 or 200 in one loft and 50 to 100 in the other loft, and they just fly. And that's where it's a pain in the ass, because they're feeling good and one group's keeping the other group going, and that's just all part of it. And I experience that every year. So if I could be down the road in a couple of weeks and just stay, train and trap, that's ideal. But right now, all I'm trying to do is just repetition, teach the pigeons, and conditioning at the same time. And right now we're half hour, 45 minutes. But once these birds are fully molted out and the weather cools down, hopefully somewhat, well, now we're going to talk. They're going to be coming home and flying an hour and a half, 2 hours every day. I mean, that's just what they do. So that's what we work towards.
So we're working towards. Austin says, "What's more valuable to you, champion pigeons or race winners for breeding?" What do you think, John?
Champion. What's the question to say?
So what's more valuable to you, champion pigeons or race winners for breeding? So I guess champion pigeons means like your average speed, your ace point pigeons, or
Oh,
the winner of a
always,
race.
always. Oh, consistency is always the best. But you got to evaluate when you say a race winner. Was it a 200-mile race winner, or was it a 500 or 600-mile race winner? And again, that could be all tossed up in the air too, because at 200 miles, you got, in your club racing, 80% of the pigeons are there, and you get into the distance racing. Well, now what do you got left? 30% or 20% going to the race, but it's distance. It's hours on the wing. So there's so many different variables that you have to consider. As far as an OLR, yeah, champion pigeons are always the best, but does it mean they're going to breed? No, it happens all the time. I mean, the late Kenny Rhodes. I mean, he had some champions come out of Africa. He tell me they didn't breed shit.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
some, not all. I mean, he had a really good record over there, but he's just the first one to tell you that. And there's many other guys that I've talked to that they've had champion pigeons on top, consistency that didn't really, they were just there. And that's, again, that's to me that's why the distance comes into play more so, because what pigeons didn't return. Why did that small percentage of pigeons come? They have something that other birds don't have. Maybe stamina, maybe heart, maybe homing ability. Short distance, right? 90% of the birds are home in 5 minutes, and one pigeon could be just a better clocker than the rest. Still a special pigeon. I'm not going to knock it. But when you really get into the variables of when all things are equal and now they're released and which pigeons are home, that becomes special. I mean, we're talking a one loft race, but what about these organizations that are flying a 500-600 mile race and there's just a pocket of pigeons that came home? I mean, that's something.
Yeah, and again, I think as well, especially with the one loft races, if you can get that ace pigeon that can hit on the final or be right at the top, and he's right at the top through all the way, you get a good feeling on those pigeons of that consistency. That's the best of the best, I think. Uh, but you will have pigeons that are, that do the course and maybe they're not the highest scoring and they turn out to be. And this is a course, John, as we've talked about, it's not easy. And don't dismiss the pigeons that score, that do this whole course. Take them home and give them a try. I think you'll be surprised because of the work, the toughness, the decisions in the brain that these birds have to make. There's a lot of decisions through this course. It's not flat, downhill, easy going. The ocean's to the left and everything's straight in front of us, and there's an ocean to the right. Just go down and away you go. No, no, no. There's canyons and there's all kinds of shit that you deal with on this course. My thought.
Hey, my thought as well, but it's not so much. Like I said, where is our sport going? It's you just have to look at you're looking for the challenge, and that's in the end that's what it's all about. It's the test. You're trying to see the determination of how many pigeons are really good. All this shit, all these guys coming across the country, and they all know birds, but they all don't get birds home over here. And they might look at me, and I've heard the comments, or I hear the comments later, like, "Fuck, what are they doing over there? They don't know." No, dude, you have no idea what the course is. Or you ask those people that live in Arizona, and you ask them what it's all about. I mean, I would never want to live there. That's all I can tell you.
Yeah. Hey, you know what? I know, guys. I can speak for experience. This is the course. If you are in the United States and you've never played in the Royal Cup or the California Classic, get your birds down there. Get in next year. Get involved. Try it. Hey, have some thick skin. You might do real good. It might hurt, but I promise you, you play it 3, 4, 5 years, your breeding program is going to go up. If you can finish it, it'll go up. And give this race a try. John's going to start training here in the next 2 to 3 weeks. He's going to start to move again. Uh, you got to let the pigeon man make his decision. He says a week. It could be 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. He will do it when it's time. He has the feeling to do it. Be patient. We are going to follow along. I will be down there in a few weeks to do some videoing. We'll let the birds get out there a little bit, and I'll be down to visit John, which will be great. And good show tonight. A little quiet on the questions, guys. You're going to have to pick that up. But you guys got to get used to it because we were off for 2 weeks. John, thanks. We've been on basically an hour and 25 minutes. Good show tonight. And we'll do it again next Wednesday. Good idea.
Sounds good, bud. All right. Have a good evening.
Hey, that's John
Get some
Timmerman. I'm
rest.
Brian. Feathers Delete Racing Pigeon Network. Yeah, don't worry. I can't wait to go to bed. It'll take me 3 hours to go to bed because I got to unwind from this. But that's okay. Guys, participation, pretty good. Pick it up next week. Good luck, John, in the loft line. And we'll talk. We'll
Okay. I'll
talk
talk to you during the week.
this
I
week.
would like to find out what you find out on the incident in Belgium.
Yeah, you know what? It's going through insurance. They found out it's done deliberate, but how do you find out who does it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and again,
Why? Why? I mean,
why?
for a 77-year-old man, I mean, who deserves that? Nobody deserves that in general, but let alone an elderly man who, has been a contribution to the sport. It just doesn't make sense. Stupid.
And again, if I go in the backyard and I videotape where everything is, like really get in there, it's so easy to light houses on fire. What are you doing? I mean, it's one thing, hey John, you're lost way out in the back of the field and you light it on fire. Okay, you're not going to hurt anything but the building. There's people there with kids and families and shit like that. Sick people in the head. I normally don't want to end the show off like that, but we'll keep in touch on it. Again, we're going to be doing a fundraiser for Marcel. It's going to be pigeon related, pigeon racing related. We're coming up with it at the end of the week, so I will share it next Wednesday on this show. So people who watch, if they want to support it, they can. We're going to have some fun, and we're going to raise some money to help him build a new loft. My dad's there. He's going to help him tear it down and work together. So 270 mid 70s guys constructing. Oh, geez. Bob Vila, home again, home again.
Nice.
Hey, John. All right.
All right,
We will
bud.
see you next Wednesday, brother. Good show.
Thank you. Have a good
Thanks,
night.
guys. Bye for now. All righty. Good night, guys.